Hey all, here are OS Reviews. During the holiday season, I did a little bit of traveling. For the first time, I tried a carrier called Iceland Air, connecting over to Europe, and that's because Iceland Air offered some discounts that made it one of the more cost-effective options to get from the US to Europe, oftentimes with round-trip tickets, that is getting there and then getting back, costing around $300 to $400 USD, which is considered quite good for international travel on a flight that takes around 7 hours, give and take. And so I was actually quite surprised because this was an economy ticket, but I found myself staring at a pretty recently renovated screen in front of me when sitting down. And that's because later on I discovered that Iceland Air actually partnered with Panasonic to kind of refurbish their planes, which are based on the Airbus A321 Neo long flight with the newer Panasonic Astrova in-flight entertainment system. They now have 13-inch 4K OLED displays for accessing videos that you can watch, playing back some mini games, listening to music to help the time pass by a little bit more quickly. It actually felt very modern because of the inky, vibrant contrast of the OLED panels, as well as having a matte layer on top of the display to further reduce glare and reflections, coupled with relatively slim bezels on the side of the screen just made the entire experience, the content, seem to fill up even more space. And all of this was flanked by an LED light strip beneath the display itself, which can be further tilted up and down to give you some more adjustability depending on how far back you want to recline the seat. So these large 4K HDR certified OLED panels are not only extremely sharp, but furthermore, if you are in business class, it comes with an even larger 16-inch panel, but again, across the board, they are all 4K resolution OLED displays. Now, I have a couple of thoughts around this I wanted to briefly point out, and that is, of course, OLED and AMOLED displays have a potential or higher likelihood of burn-in over time. That is, if it's sitting on a static image like this, for example, hours and hours on a higher brightness level, there can be some ghosting or residue image left on there, which is typically not found on LCD screens, despite those having inferior contrast. Now, of course, this being pretty much brand new, when I was looking at this flight and display, there were no signs of burn-in yet, but really only time will tell further down the line in a couple of more months or years whether this will become more of something to be cautious of. So it is a rather interesting decision from them, but again, perhaps being optimistic, Panasonic perhaps built in some different software enhancements, refresh the screen every once in a while, or just limit the in-flight entertainment systems to not always be on maximum brightness, of course, can further help elongate the lifespan of those displays. But at the moment, of course, I can't complain because I got to see it when it was pristine, and it was definitely very immersive, almost eye-popping in terms of the brightness as well as the richness of colors on a panel that would typically be reserved for higher-end monitors or home cinema, TVs, versus it being on a form of public transit. But at least we are seeing some gradual improvements there. Now, as a geek at heart, obviously I was excited to see this newer in-flight entertainment system, check out the new UI, as well as the carousel of apps and features that it could deliver. But on the other hand, if I'm being more practical, in terms of the seat overall, of course, there can be additional enhancements that perhaps are going to be more useful to an average user, like adding in a little bit more leg room to make the seats feel a little more spacious, or add more padding to make the seats softer. I think that arguably matters more overall when it comes to the experience versus having a cutting-edge OLED 4K screen in front of you, but ultimately I'll take something over nothing, and this is at least one step in the right direction. So some other attributes of these newer Astrova systems include having Bluetooth connectivity built on in, not too surprising because it's likely based on a version of Android OS, and so what struck me is now I could connect wireless headphones directly onto the in-flight entertainment panels even in economy class. This was not something I was able to do before, and oftentimes with outdated planes, you had to plug in a headphone jack, and not only a 3.5mm headphone jack, but an airplane adapter that splits it into that dual prong connector, which is sometimes hard to even find a compatible adapter for if you're using your own headphones or you're stuck with rather crappy sounding headphones that the airlines give you that don't have really ANC or anything like that. But now finally you can use your own standard Bluetooth wireless headsets, AirPods, larger headphones with active noise cancellation, all wirelessly via Bluetooth. The audio experience is also supported with spatial spatial audio effects as well. So it gives you a little bit more of separation as you are listening to movie soundtracks. There's a couple of different EQ effects basically that you can play around with and click to turn on or off. I wouldn't say the effect is as strong as spatial audio on iPhones that does actual head tracking, but it is better than nothing, and you can kind of play around with it. It creates more of that sense of depth as you're watching a movie for some added immersiveness, versus if you are playing a game or listening to music, you can turn it off with a single click on the interface. Also, on that point of audio, there was no real latency problems either that I encountered, despite it being wireless, even though the specific codec like LDAC or aptX isn't really specified. So I never really encountered too much out of sync moments when I was watching back videos, movies, and I was scrubbing between the timeline, and the audio and video still seem to do pretty well for the most part. Perhaps the only exception is if you get up and go to the bathroom or walk in the alley and then come back to your seats. If it's over 10 meters away, you have to then tap to kind of repair. Now, something else that I enjoyed about the audio experience is Panasonic has improved the in-flight announcement system, or the PA system, as well. So I don't know if you guys have had this experience before, but on older planes, typically if you're wearing headphones plugged into the monitor and then suddenly a flight attendant wants to announce something to the entire plane, they get onto the speakerphone to tell you about the safety of the plane or that you're about to land, fasten your seatbelt, and that audio announcement tends to be extremely loud. The voice of the flight attendant or the captain tends to be piercing if you are wearing headphones. For some reason, the volume level, at least for me, was always much louder than the actual entertainment audio. So it would tend to be a very jarring experience, almost uncomfortable when it was switching between the media into the person's voice. Almost felt like I was being shouted at, and there were moments where I kind of jolted up in my seat because of the imbalance in the volume level. Whereas on the Panasonic system, I found it to be pretty much exactly balanced as it should be. So the in-flight announcements were actually at a same volume level now as the media that I set it at. So if you raise or lower the volume of the movie that you're watching or your headphones volume, then the similar in-flight entertainment volume is also raised or lowered accordingly as well. So it was a lot more comfortable when it came to those interruptions in between. That is a nice quality of life improvement from the audio side. Now, similarly, below the displays, you can also charge your phones using a USB Type-C port now. So you can finally start leveraging Type-C to Type-C cables for charging, even on these flights, instead of having to use an older and slower USB Type-A cable. That being said, if you are very security conscious, just note that there are still some potential risks associated with plugging your phone directly into any USB port which is public. There's potential for something called juice jacking to occur, in which some malicious code has been injected, and so you should technically not really connect your phone or computer directly into the USB that you see on public outlets. That includes planes, even though it should be a little bit better compared to somewhere extremely public, like just a terminal or a restaurant, something like that. However, a workaround would be having a USB cable that has the ability to only supply power, no data transfer. Alternatively, if you plug the USB cable into a power bank, something in the middle, and then your power bank into your phone, that will also block off any data from being transmitted directly to your phone. So those are a couple of other workaround options. But yes, there is a USB Type-C charging port now on the Panasonic Astrova systems as well. But if you wanted to charge laptops and more power-hungry devices, looks like it supports up to 100-watt charging, so it's kind of GaN speeds as well, which is crazy to see. So you can definitely top up even power-hungry devices rapidly using those Type-C ports built directly into the in-flight entertainment screens. So yeah, gone are the days of tiny, slow trickle charging that only gave you something like 5 watts or 10 watts on these displays. Now, on the topic of audio, if you aren't using wireless Bluetooth headphones, there is still going to be a standard 3.5mm headphone jack on the bottom as well. So yes, you are able to still plug in wired headphones or headsets. And similarly, aside from the two Type-C ports, you'll find access to some of the controls, which are backlit. There is no more remote that's built into the armrest of the seats. So everything is now controlled via this large touchscreen display, which works well enough for the most part. You can still see them in the dark. You can change the the volume using these tactile buttons, as well as turn the entire screen on and off by pressing that key. And since, again, it is an OLED display, everything goes completely dark when you turn it off, and then on again if you want to use it, if you're trying to sleep, for example. And then similarly, you can actually access a button for turning on the light on top of the seat, as well as calling the flight attendant. So all of those controls are now built into the in-flight entertainment buttons on the side here. Now, in terms of the overall menu system, one of the other aspects that is going to be new and perhaps original to Panasonic solution is they have a flight tracker as a map that you can visualize when you are flying over different territories. And specifically, the mapping software here is called the Arc Moving Map. So I do really like this new system. It felt very fancy, almost like a scene from Minority Report or maybe even The Matrix, just because it's able to transition very smoothly between different views, including virtual perspectives as if you were looking directly in front of the plane, from the left to the right of the plane, underneath the plane. Now, all of the graphics here, though, are simulated over a kind of mapping software similar to maybe Google Maps, but it's not exactly one-to-one real live feed coming from an actual camera, at least in the economy cabin experience, but still, it was interesting to have kind of a virtual map being displayed. Felt realistic enough to see if you were flying underneath a certain mountain range, and similar to Google Earth, you're able to interact with the screen using your fingers. It's a multi-touch enabled touchscreen, so you can actually pinch in and pinch out to make the map larger and smaller. It felt pretty smooth and responsive during operation, even though the specific frame rate or the refresh rate of the screen isn't necessarily stated by Panasonic. But yes, it is kind of fun to be able to freely move it around. It felt much more responsive versus the resistive plastic screens, which have a lot of glare and they have to really force you to get in there with your fingers that we had on older in-flight entertainment systems. This is now finally a capacitive screen. Kind of feels like you're using a giant modern iPad, flowing a lot more seamlessly. And if you are zoomed all the way out, it kind of reminds me of a scene from sci-fi films or Three Body Problem. You can even see your position on Earth as it is reflected in the entire galaxy, like a planetary simulation model, which was neat to see. So plenty of perspectives. You can also leave it into an auto mode in which it will transition between the different perspectives of looking in front, underneath the plane, to the left or the right of plane, even having some virtual windows that you can simulate on the display. And since it is large enough with a true OLED nature, when it is displaying blacks, everything is just completely dark. So it has a pretty convincing effect of kind of looking out into these different perspectives just from this monitor of what you are seeing as it's flying over space. So that view I do think is done relatively well by Panasonic and their software team, and you're able to see your position, how much duration is left until you arrive at your destination, the current speed that you're going, some of the basic stats like that. This is the software part that I think is perhaps the most interesting out of their solution compared to everything else. It's still being relatively similar to other in-flight entertainment systems that I've seen in the past. Which is to say, definitely not bad when it comes to watching movies, TV shows. Again, the smaller bezels as well as the OLED screen brightness, everything has been pretty satisfactory for just getting you a little bit more immersed in the entertainment that you are consuming. However, when it comes to the UI of navigating around the system, the carousel, all of that feels relatively familiar compared to other entertainment system screens that I've seen in the past. Hasn't really changed dramatically. You can swipe up and down through the carousel to go through other TV shows, to sort by genres, also listen to different music and albums that they have shared on there as well, and some tap and go style, very basic casual style puzzle games, more or less. There's nothing super crazy on here, but yeah, it's basically a grid system. Almost reminds me of something like a PlayStation interface or maybe a Windows Metro screen from back in the day, Windows Phone, of just swiping up and down to get through the different options on the touchscreen. So the flight map software, I think, is by comparison the more new aspect software-wise that I was surprised by. Now, it is worth noting, though, that not all of Iceland Air's planes have been retrofitted with this new Panasonic in-flight entertainment system. It just receives it on their A321neo, designed for their longer haul flights. Now, if you have a shorter hop between Europe, connecting through Iceland and then getting to somewhere else like the UK or getting to Sweden, maybe taking just around 2 hours or 3 hours, then those smaller planes have not yet been updated with their newer systems. They're still using the older, maybe resistive touchscreen or maybe a smaller LCD screen. Typically, we see around 7 inches to 8 inches being the norm on economy class for most of those older planes versus, again, this being dramatically larger at 13 inches with tiny bezels. It's definitely one of the first things you'll notice once you get on board. So it was definitely interesting to check out and kind of got me curious to see what other airlines have started to update using a similar 4K system even on economy class. And it looks like there's a couple actually. United Airlines, surprisingly, here in the US, is also updating to their 4K OLED screens, also 13 inches, so the same product essentially, also in economy cabin going forwards, with the Boeing 787 Dreamliners receiving that updated interior, and other carriers to follow suit include Air Canada, Riyadh Air from the Middle East, I believe, as well as Iceland Air are the 3 other ones receiving it, although as we saw from that press release, it looks like Iceland Air was the first to officially partner and roll it out from Panasonic. And this also comes off the tail of, similarly last year, we saw Hawaiian Airlines renovate their in-flight systems by offering Starlink access to satellite Wi-Fi for free for flights that are going from the US over to Hawaii, so you can access internet even as you're flying without having to pay anything extra, and having more reliable and pretty fast Wi-Fi connectivity as well. So it's nice to see these subtle improvements start to roll out across even economy products. As technology evolves and the cost becomes more accessible, we start to see more of these renovations going on. Now, honestly, I'm kind of surprised though to see United Airlines, Air Canada, and to some extent Iceland Air as well. The fact that these are some of the first to support it, again, is somewhat surprising in my opinion, because Iceland Air, for example, is known to be slightly more cost-effective versus many of the other carriers, and then similarly, Air Canada as well as United Airlines are definitely full-service airlines, but they're also pretty competitive on price, usually. So I didn't really expect for these particular brands to be some of the first to update. I kind of expected them, in fact, to be maybe later down or last in line, just because they tend to be more sensitive to pricing. But maybe they're trying to pull in new customers by improving their product and experience, and so they're choosing to go with this versus some of the more premium names and brands like Delta, not to mention other flag carriers, whether that's Emirates as well as Singapore Airlines is another kind of 5-star airline. Surprisingly, aren't other examples that have made the list, but rather it's United, Air Canada, and Iceland Air, which have more of this kind of stoic, traditional image, at least in my opinion. And if you're into traveling and more of an av geek, you may know that another carrier that has been kind of a newcomer in the aviation space has been Starlux Airlines. But they've been making some splash on social media over the past 2 years or so after recently launching their flights from the US over to Asia as another competing option to other legacy carriers. And because they are a new airline, their planes are new as well. And they previously had some of the better performing hard products in economy, including 13-inch 4K screens. But what's interesting here is Starlux Airlines have chosen to go with IPS LCD screens instead of OLED screens, the newer type that's built by Panasonic that's starting to roll out now, maybe a year or so later after Starlux first started to pop up on the scene. And of course, it's unlikely that Starlux will be updating their fleet after just purchasing their planes not so long ago. But at the same time, LCD may be having a slightly longer shelf life or usage lifespan if they are always displaying certain images on it that might actually have it age better, ironically enough, compared to the more expensive and newer OLED panels that these other airlines have opted for instead. So maybe it's a blessing in disguise, but they are matching them when it comes to these older screens also being 13 inches, also being 4K on the Starlux fleet. And ultimately, it's kind of ridiculous to call them old since they're still pretty new in production for just around 2 years or so, but just a slight difference there when it comes to the screen technology type. So there we have it, kind of an unusual video in many ways. Again, it isn't like a typical consumer product review that you can purchase off the shelf, but more of an observation, kind of sharing some of my experiences when it comes to that updated tech powered by Panasonic in the in-flight entertainment systems that I was able to experience. Just wanted to kind of document and share some of my thoughts. But let me know, have you guys also experienced some of these recently renovated interiors, the in-flight entertainment systems? What are some of your experiences, whether new or old? And what do you think about these renovations? Do they make sense to you? Why or why not? Also, if you are interested in aviation-related tech, feel free to share your thoughts. But for now, that's been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews.